on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Think Big podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Marlon Johnson. I got the co-host Alejandro Alvarez and Sam Singh here for episode 45. And I mean, before we start the cameras, before we started rolling, we were just like talking about how freaking handsome Sam Singh is. I mean, like I don't often get to see him fully shaved, to see that precious jawline, the pearly whites. And honestly, this is a sad moment for me because I just found out like I'm the ugly friend because I'm looking at like Sam's jawline. I'm looking at Alejandro's full beard, his back cave set up like the Bruce Wayne up here. Guys, like send me some love. I need some confidence in the chat. I need to know that like it's okay to be the third one, the third wheel, like that leftover friend. It's okay, y'all. So tonight we're gonna see. Look at that. Donnabella's already like, look at you, Sam. Bro, we haven't even started the episode and people are already just like swooning. They're swooning. Like, bro, like you know, let's make this like a serious conversation though, because people want to accelerate their lives. Sam, question number one: how do you become so handsome? Like, what do you do? Like, because I saw Squidward do it in an episode once. Like, how do you do it?
That was it. That was it, right? What did he do? He just had a door smashed in his face enough times. That's completely it. You know, Jonathan Supples here. This is how you get handsome. Spend an entire week traveling with Marlon Johnson. You know, you say this, but Alejandro, make no bones about it, bro. We were in Orlando, Puerto Rico, Orlando, Jax, back to Orlando. And I had to be next to this specimen of a human being for a week straight. And this dude has muscles that I didn't know existed. He is an anatomical structure in and of himself. You know what's really messed up is we were at Universal Studios, and this elementary school class was coming by, and then the teacher who was leading the class stopped the session and was like, "Let's study the anatomical structure of a human being right now." And they stopped Marlon, and they were like pointing at his muscles and the things that he's got going on. I'm just saying, if you want to get really handsome, just hang out. Just hang out with Marlon. It's inevitable.
Bro, I'm just over here. I'm just gonna work on developing my personality and I'm gonna go make more money. That's what's gonna keep me in this game right now. Because between you and Alejandro, like I gotta do that. Like that's why I work out so hard. Is just because I'm not pretty enough. All right. And I'm okay. So appreciate you, John. John says, like, yo, but I got that mindset though. Like I appreciate that.
Look at this guy.
Guys, this is literally a photo of Marlon at Universal Studios. Me and Hung Mai had to walk around following this freaking monster.
Is that veins on his legs, bro?
That.
This dude got veins on his thighs, bro. I didn't even know that was possible.
Dog, this is what I'm gonna do. All right, like just so everyone knows, I'm gonna be fully honest, right? I guess some of you are gonna call it catfishing, but I'm gonna use that picture, but I'm just gonna put Sam's face on it, and that's gonna be my new dating profile. Right, because like, yo, your boy, I gotta get married. I gotta start a family soon. So, you know, I think I'll be able to attract the right one as long as I look like Sam. And then I'm just gonna put like Alejandro's background as my background. So people are like, dang, this guy's got style too. He's articulate. He reads books. He's into art. By the way, yo, Alejandro, can you come and like set my studio up, bro? Because like I tried, dude. This is my attempt at recreating Alejandro's studio. I got 2 lights.
Let's do it. I'm down. Actually, I'm actually gonna probably start doing a YouTube channel about that, like helping people have like their office setup or home setup. It's gonna be from like before and after. That's always something I was wanting to do. It's pretty cool.
Let's go. Let's make that happen. Well, listen, we've been joking around, but honestly, guys, like I know sometimes like some of you might be like, why haven't we gotten started yet? Low key, this is getting started. If your workday can't have this sort of energy, if you can't feel like this when you're doing work, like don't make any like bones about this. When we get on and we're filming the podcast, this is work, right? This is work that we're doing. We're branding, we're building community, we're building our businesses, we're building infrastructure for other people. However, I like to have fun when I work. And so I get to do that right now while I'm working with my 2 best friends here. Now, let's dive into it. We're going to be talking today about what does it take to be great. And, you know, I'm curious. I actually want to know from Sam, and I do want to know from Alejandro. I want to have this as an open conversation. What up, Jade? What up, Nancy? Also just saying hi to the people in the chat. By the way, if you don't see your friends on here, make sure you send this link out. Let people know. Tonight, we're going to be diving deep on mindset and really understanding what it takes to be great. And I want to know what Sam and Alejandro, as you all have been growing your business and you both do an excellent job at reaching back out to community. You, like Sam, you've hired, I don't know how many countless number of new real estate investors to come on work on your team. People have gotten their first deal with you. People have gotten their 10th deal with you. People are making, like some people on your team are making $10,000, $20,000 per month commissions. And Alejandro, you've got like a team of snipers that you've honed out over the last 2 years. And you've just, like they are just nasty. It's like you run a ninja team over there, and you've been able to work in JV with other people to help them get their first deals. But at the same token, y'all have come across individuals who have struggled, who had what it takes. And you can look at them as someone who's already gone to the mountain they want to go to. You see them, they're not producing. Why? What have you seen as the reasons that some of these people aren't producing and they aren't making it? And like, what is it that if you're like, hey, if I could switch this, all the other dominoes would fall over eventually by removing this one barrier? I'm curious to know what y'all have seen or like what sort of barriers you've come across in your journeys for those people.
Alejandro, you go first, man.
I think, Sam, you and I, we both have experience with this. We've probably been there, but like having people that complain about not having their first deal, but then complain about not doing the work. Such a strange thing, bro. I've been there. It's like, it's weird, bro. Like I have this group of guys or just people I've met in the past where they are struggling to get their first deal, but when you provide literally all the resources to get their first deal, they still find something to complain about. And it's such a weird thing. And like, I just don't get it. Like I sat outside on my patio for like 30 minutes, like, yo, what is up with these type of personality? What is going on? And, usually I like to find out. I can find out pretty easily. But with this, man, honestly, the only thing I can come up with is they just haven't hit their rock bottom yet. They kind of want it, but they don't want it bad enough. Like, that's the only thing I can come up with. Like, hey, man, I know you're complaining about not getting your first deal, but it seemed like you're just not desperate for it. I can't really help you if that's the case. Like, what can I do other than just lead as an example and just force? Like, if you surround yourself with people that are doing a whole bunch of deals, it's either you're going to kick yourself out or you're going to be forced to get your first deal, because no one wants to be last place. No one wants to feel like they're the only one that can get shit done. So once you see that, I mean, that's the only thing you can do. You can't talk them into it. You can't do anything. Honestly, you just got to lead as an example, and that's it. And just watch them do it. But Sam, I'm sure you've experienced that same thing. Go ahead, Marlon.
But it's funny that you say that, Alejandro, because yesterday I took a trip out to Sedona. We went out, a small group of us, 4 guys, and we were out cliff jumping. We hiked about 3 miles in just to get to this secluded cliff, jumping all day, having a great time. And on our way out, it's all entrepreneurs, of course. And on the way out, I'm talking to Ben, and Ben asked me a question because he was curious about what I do with my coaching clients. And he said, hey, do you ever get people that don't perform? And I told him, well, actually, with my coaching clients, no, but only because of how heavy I vet on the front end, where there are people I turn away. So I only take on the performers. And he says, well, what's the difference between a person you accept and a person you don't accept? And I said, the difference is very simple. The person that I accept, that I sign up, that work with me, when they come on, they're ready to take action. They're ready to sign up on that first phone call. So even by having that ability and that desire to take action and go and move on to the next step, I see they're an action taker. And I said, the reason if someone's like still on the fence and questioning it, and I don't take them on board and I don't even give them like a second opportunity to call back later, is very simple. It's because that person isn't experiencing enough pain being the way they are today. Because he asked me, he says, like, who are the people that you're turning away? I said, it's the people that don't take action. He says, why aren't they taking action? I love this dude. Ben is a phenomenal guy. He's crushing in his business. He's already done a handful of flips. He's a young guy out door knocking, but making great money. He's one of those few people that has more money than he knows what to do with at a young age of 20. Like, it's just phenomenal because he takes action. He says, why aren't some people taking action? I said, it's simple, dude. They're in a position like what Alejandro just said. It's not painful enough. They haven't hit rock bottom. And everyone's rock bottom's different. When a person says, hey, I wanted to lose weight, but I always give up on my workouts. I always give up on the diet. I always give up on the routine. Solution, you're not fat enough yet. What? Yeah, go eat 20 more burgers, put on 54 pounds. Get to the point where your heart hurts when you sit down, because then life will become so miserable that you will now make it a point that you never want to be here again, and you will now do it. You'll have the activation energy. When the pain of being the same becomes worse than the pain of doing the work, you will then do the work. Sorry, bro. I had to talk. I had to say that. I literally tweeted that on my threads. By the way, if y'all are not on threads yet, or better yet, if you're not following me on threads yet, go follow me on threads. Yeah,
I still haven't got around threads. How you like threads compared to X?
Dude, I like it. I actually I've been using it a lot, and I like that there aren't ads on it. I hate going on X and seeing like a million different ads.
Yeah,
I didn't use Twitter back in the day, so like it's a platform that like I don't really understand that well. So when I go on there and like I just feel like I'm being bombarded with ads and I don't know how to see the stuff I want to see, I feel like an old man and I just log off.
I sent the message to Elon Musk, not that he cares or not, nor that he'll probably see me, but I just did it anyways. I was like, hey, bro, can you figure out how can my timeline be only about the people I follow? I'm so sick and tired of watching all these other negative stuff on my timeline. I'm like, I don't even know you. Why is there a half naked woman on my timeline? Get that out of here. I don't need that. I want to see stuff about mindset, real estate, how to better yourself, etc. The people I follow, Alex Morosi, Pace Morby, the Think Big podcast, let that be my timeline when I scroll on X. Please. What is this ad, bro? For what? It's ridiculous, bro.
It's nuts, man, but you have that focus. Yeah, and that's another reason, right? Like this is like another thing that it takes to be great. It's having that discipline, having that focus to even like your scrolling time is productive. People don't understand. Like the way you clean up your house, I clean up my social media like that all the time. All the freaking time. And
having your clean area is so important.
Yeah. And here's the interesting thing. You guys are probably the same, right? Like follow a couple hundred people, maybe like 1,000 people on social media, on Instagram. Here's something a lot of people don't know I do. Sam knows I do it. I told him about this the other day. I won't unfollow you, but I'll mute you. Because I still want to have a connection with you, but I don't want to see your stuff if it's not growing me, if it's not in not even if it's not growing me, if it's not in alignment with what I'm doing during this chapter, during this quarter, during this time, when I'm having a goal, anything that starts to distract me, I want to kick out. And it's not because of anything except for I understand my weakness. I can get distracted very easily. How many of you get distracted easily? Right? Like people, our attention span is shorter and shorter and shorter. It's easier to lose attention. In fact, we're processing more information now. Mankind is processing more information than it's ever had to ever in its existence. I mean, you're talking about like back in 2003, all the information that man has gathered between like the beginning of time up until 2003. At 2003, a very interesting turning point happened where now at that point, every single day, information was being created equivalent to all of what humanity had gathered in thousands of years in a day, in a single 24-hour time block. And that was in 2003. Between this internet posts being created, books being written, videos being made, music being just, there is so much information to process. You've got to get focused. So, Sam, curiosity for you. What do you see when people come to you and you're like, all right, why is this person not activating? Why are they being held back? What is it that you're noticing that is missing?
So I'm gonna echo that you guys are right that that not hurting enough is a true factor. There's so many people that come to me and talk to me, and they're okay. They're okay with where they're at. They make enough money. They've got enough money in a savings account. They can just, sit on freaking Zooms all day listening to their mentors talk and talk and talk and talk. And they'll never, ever, ever go ahead and actually take the action because the action isn't something that people are seeing. And this is what I'm starting to realize. People we're humans operate in a feedback loop, right? Simplify. Look at animals. Look at dogs. Look at monkeys. Look at all the animals out there that have some level of intellect. They're reaction based, right? They have a feedback loop, and that feedback loop is how they process information. Dog does good. Dog gets a treat. Dog learns that act is associated with a reward, right? Here's the thing: when people sit on freaking Zooms for 17 hours every 3 days, and they're in a Zoom with 100 of their homies, and they're all talking about ways to make money, and they're all hyping each other up, great. That's the feedback loop right there. We've associated this feeling like we're going to be billionaires, not with doing the things that are going to make you money, but sitting on Zoom talking about ways to make money. And this is why a lot of these people, they come to me and I tell them all the time, you know more about real estate than I will ever know. And you still don't make any money in real estate. And it's because you have associated the talking about the ways to get money with the idea that you will actually make money. So I see these people very often. They've got relatively okay, stable careers on the side. They've got money. They've got other forms of assets. They're not hurting. They're not desperate. And this is why they can sit and absorb whatever social media challenge is out there right now, because there is a freaking flavor of the week. And I know this. I'm just going to say this right now. Everyone here on this screen has gotten a shit ton of texts from a shit ton of people about a new challenge that just launched.
Oh my goodness.
And I'm sorry. I am so freaking sorry. I'm not going to name names, but me and the person in charge of that challenge have had multiple discussions about this whole ideology about people pursuing this new way to make money. And I'll say this, that person told me most of these people who are consuming this content, most of them can't even hire and train a VA, but they want to absorb a company with 20 people in it. So let's just do this, guys. Let's just be open and honest about this. You guys want to go? We all look up to the Hormozis and what they do. You guys want to know one of the first things that the Hormozis do when a new company comes into their portfolio? They do two things right off the bat. They do a time and a schedule audit for the owners. What are you doing? What are you spending your time doing? And then what they'll do is they'll establish and they'll attach leverage multipliers to every single task that you're doing. And what they're going to find out is that half the shit that you're doing has no leverage, or it's so low leverage that it should be outsourced to someone else. And the thing is, this is what I've realized in our industry, is that not enough new people are doing that. They don't do that. They associate, hey, sitting on Zooms for 3, 4, 5 hours a day, listening to ideas about money and making money, that is a leverage multiplier, because you're learning something. True, learning is great, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't do a damn thing. So I would say people need to hurt. Uncomfortable action. You guys want to know what grows a business? Leila Hormozi has this amazing video, and I think it's titled, "This is the boring shit that'll make you a millionaire." And it's all the boring crap that no one wants to talk about, no one wants to do. It's time audits, leverage studies, how to hire, how to fire, how to train, how to do call calibrations, how to XYZ. And it's the stuff that none of us spend our time doing. The reality is, if we spent all of our time focusing on that boring shit, we'd all be millionaires. But instead, we don't. We all spend our time doing what? Having visionary conversations left and right. And I think a lot of the times there's not enough discomfort in the world in the immediate situation to force you into action. This is why we look at guys like Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban, he said this. Barbara, oh my God, I can't remember her name. Barbara something. She's on Shark Tank as well. Her and Mark Cuban talked about how, you know, one of the top things they look for an entrepreneur they invest in is a chip on their shoulder. Is their back against a wall? Financially, emotionally, spiritually, somehow your back needs to be against some form of wall, because you cannot stay there. So they look for a chip on the shoulder. It is one of the greatest indicators, by the way, of a future billionaire. If you look at the world of like billionaires right now, there's this giant study done. Most of the billionaires in the world didn't come from billion-dollar households, didn't come from even million-dollar households. Most of them actually came from normal everyday lives, if not worse. They had to struggle. They had to come up. And if you look at the majority of them, these guys, Barbara Corcoran, there you go. So most of these people, they had a chip on their shoulders. Logan Manzanares, one of my great friends and mentors and podcast co-hosts, he says this. He says that in order for you to be successful, you need two things. You need to know what you're running from, and you need to know what you're running towards. And most of these people aren't running from jack shit. Why? They got 200K sitting in a savings account, in a Roth IRA. They've got assets that were passed down to them. So it's okay to not move the needle in business because you've got a freaking gigantic nest egg. If you aren't running from something and you need to be terrified of that something catching up to you, this is an element of greatness in everyone that we see. We look at LeBron, Kobe, Roger Federer, Tom Brady, Michael Phelps, Mayweather. We look at the greatest of the greats. None of them take it slow. They have aggressive patience because they understand it's a long game, but they're all, in the way they move, in the urgency they have in life, there's almost an element of desperation, like I will not settle. And that's the thing. I don't think people are hungry enough. But I'll say this: I've learned to become a little bit more stern as a business owner. Pace has told me this. My mentors have told me this. One of my mentors will probably do over 100 million this year, and he told me straight up, he was like, "Sam, you need to stop being so goddamn nice to your people." Because I was telling him about like how we hire and like how we sometimes aren't firing, and he's like, "You need to fire freaking half your people." And so, Marlon, you and I went on this trip, and brother, I think it's safe to say that we had amazing levels of opportunity have come out of that. For me, like we just unlocked this amazing new dispo arm, and we're gonna probably close $300,000 in new assignments by the end of the year, just in this new one vertical that we unlocked being in that room with Robert Wensley, right? And there were people on my team that didn't put in the work while I was gone. And we love stress testing. Me and my sales director, we love it. Actually, we love when I leave because we want to see who works, who doesn't, who gets the deals, who fucks up, all this stuff. It's a stress test to see what works and what doesn't. And what ended up happening is we start talking to these people who are maybe like, hey, the boss was gone for a week. But to your point, Marlon, when we go travel and we do that, we're working. It looks like fun and we're having a blast because we love what we do, but we're still working. And they take that as an excuse to not work. So some of these people who are newer, never done a deal before, we had that conversation of why didn't you make the calls? Why didn't you hit the dials? Why didn't you log? Like what happened? And there was like the ideologies, they were more pissed off that Sam was on tour speaking on stage. That was where their priority was. Is Sam was on stage speaking and having a good time with Marlon. So why should I be calling sellers right now? And the reality is there's a broken association here. And I'm going to go so into this. We go into it and we say, hey, for Marlon and Sam and Alejandro and Daryl and all these guys, Logan Manzanares, to speak on stages brings new opportunity to everybody. The bigger that Pace Morby gets, the bigger that Alex Hermosi gets, right? The more stages they're on, is that not going to help everyone who's in their ecosphere? Absolutely. Abso-freaking-lutely. Pretty soon, Marlon Johnson is going to be on stages motivating 10,000 people in a freaking stadium arena. Pretty soon, Marlon Johnson is going to be helping Tony Robbins headline an event in front of 10,000 people live and 500,000 people virtually. Could you imagine the level of opportunity that brings to everyone who's in Marlon's ecosphere? It is actually Marlon's highest and best use. Now, could you imagine the newer person who wants to work for Marlon, who wants to be in his ecosphere, absorbed through osmosis, saying, I'm not going to work and call the sellers, even though that's what I was hired to do, because Marlon's not calling sellers. And then what I quickly realized is there's a mindset disconnection there. And that's what my mentors told me. So I talked to a few of them about this. I'm like, how do I handle this? Like, how do I respond to that? Like, I understand it vaguely, but it doesn't really make a ton of sense to me. And they were like, straight up, that person doesn't understand highest and best use. That person doesn't understand that they are not you. And more than likely, they actually only came on with you so they can spend all their time with you, not all their time. And this is key, guys. How many leaders have people who come on to their teams and those people are not calling sellers, they're not generating leads, they're not putting out offers, it's because they don't want to do the job they were hired to do. They just want to hang out with Alejandro because they see Alejandro crushing it. So they want to apply to work for him and they will get the job, but they're not going to do the job. They just think that if I hang around him enough, magically greatness will be handed to me. What they fail to see is that Alejandro lived in the trenches. Alejandro fought his way out of the freaking trenches, and they don't understand that. So there's this element of, we've talked about this in the past, knowing what season you're in and knowing what season you're trying to get to. The problem is this. Here's me as a newbie. Here's Alejandro as a seasoned veteran. I go and apply to work for Alejandro and I try to leapfrog and get here. I'm trying to skip 3, 4, 5 seasons that I did not go through, that I didn't earn to get past. And then when someone tries to go from point A all the way to point Z and skip the entire freaking alphabet in between, that's when failure happens. That is the greatest indicator that I've seen, is when people try to act their actions. Marlon, you've been talking about habits and actions and behaviors and the importance of them, right? And how they'll shape your reality and they'll shape your life. I'm seeing a ton of people where their actions are not serving the season they're in. They think that they can have, here's season 5 and they're in season 1. They're trying to act like they're in season 5, but they're in season 1. If you don't know how to comp deals and you don't know how to generate contracts, you don't know how to do all this stuff, guys, it doesn't matter if Marlon's on stage. It doesn't matter if Alejandro's on a podcast. What matters for you is, can you freaking pick up the phone and dial? And I think that's becoming an issue, is that people, they'll apply for our teams or other leaders' teams. And I see this constantly over and over and over again. And they think that through osmosis, they will achieve greatness. They fail to realize that Marlon Johnson has been in this industry for years now. Marlon Johnson has called so many sellers, done so many deals, been in the trenches, had so many deals go right and go screwy, go sideways 10 times over, right? He's earned the ability to not have to be the one on the phone anymore. So needless to say, we fired a lot of those people. Wow. And here's the thing. And that sounds really rough. And that sounds mean. I get it. I do. And then I said that to one of my mentors. And then his straight up answer was amazing. He said, Sam, it's not about you. It's actually not about you at all. The problem is that person on your team is a cancer to the other people on your team who actually get it. And I want to highlight someone amazing. His name's Daryl. Daryl, not Daryl Ellison. I love him, miss him. But Daryl Griffin Simmons. He's on my team. He came to me a few months back. He had never done a deal before ever. He works a full-time W-2. He has a wife and he has kids. And he just had a newborn child like a month or 2 ago. And Daryl Griffin came to me, has very few hours a day to call. Very few hours a day to call. Never done a deal before. It's just trusting the process, trusting me, trusting my sales director, trusting my team. And he is now on his 5th or 6th deal with us. He's going to be wired basically by the end of this month, $20,000 net to him. And he just started. And if he keeps up the pace, he will make between 15 to 20 grand continually per month if he keeps doing what he's doing. And here's the beautiful thing about Daryl. Daryl doesn't give a crap where Sam's at. Daryl doesn't give a damn if Sam's on stage in LA, Miami. He doesn't give a shit. Why? Because he's got kids to feed. He's got to move the needle. He knows that worrying about where Sam and Marlon are is irrelevant. He knows that in order to feed his beautiful children and his newborn, right? Because formula is freaking expensive. Diapers are expensive. He knows that if he needs to do that, it's not going to be about hitting up Sam. It's not going to be about hitting up my sales director. It's going to be about the money-making activities. Guys, MMA is where everything, the only thing that matters in this industry are called MMAs, money-making activities. In my team, that's it. That's all we care about. That is it. You don't even have to know real estate, and you can still make a shit ton of money. Fun fact, then this is an element of being great, guys. There are teams right now that are doing over $1 million a month. Think about that, $1 million a month on a conveyor belt. Now, Alejandro, this is the most insane thing. These teams are putting up insane numbers in PPC. Usually they're putting up $300,000 plus a month in PPC. They're making $1 million per month in return. makes all the sense in the world. And these teams, fun fact, they don't comp. They don't know how to comp. They don't have an underwriting. Do you know what they do? They literally take Zillow, Redfin, Realtor, average the assessed value, chop that in half or by 40%. That's your offer. That is it. And they do enough of that, and they make over $1 million a month. That right there, guys, the lack of guys, a lot of us are like, oh, we don't know how to structure deals. We don't know how to do an MAO. We don't know if this is the right deal. We don't know how to comp. Well, they say screw comping. Why do you need a comp? They just do that one thing over and over and over again. And the cool thing is when they're doing PPC and it's an inbound lead, those assignment fees are massive. Most of these teams are also averaging 50 to 60K on an assignment. That's greatness right there. Not even allowing overthinking to gain any hold on what you do. That's greatness. Daryl Griffin Simmons, as long as he keeps doing what he's doing, Daryl Griffin Simmons, to me, is greatness personified. He's a father, works a full-time W-2, has a family, has a newborn baby, and he doesn't give a damn about distractions. He's not on Zooms. And fun fact, he actually doesn't even show up to a lot of our internal team meetings because he's at work when they're happening. So he doesn't have my accountability. My team's not hovering over his shoulder, making sure he's working. He's holding himself accountable in the off hours and putting in the work. So for the people, and this was my mentor telling me, he's like, you don't need anyone else. You just need more Daryls. With all these other people who are worried about what's Sam doing, what's his Instagram look like, what's Marlon doing, are they calling sellers right now? Are they on stage? You don't need them because guess what? They're a cancer to the other people. Leaving them on your team, they will dissent. They will speculate and question authority in the chain of command. And then what's going to happen? Eventually, they'll start talking to the Daryls of the team, the people who are here to actually do something great, and they will breed doubt in them. So love you, wish you nothing but the best. Where you're at in your journey right now is not compatible for what we need on our team. And that has become, like Marlon just put it up there, let the work be the filter. That is it right now. It's, are you desperate enough, and are you going to make excuses or not? Most importantly, do you give a shit what anyone else is doing? If the answer is yes, you probably aren't meant for greatness right now with where you're at. Some stuff needs to happen. Pain, urgency, something has to happen in your situation for you to enter a new mindset. And here's the key, guys. I've had to teach myself this. I'm still learning this, that I'm not going to be the one to teach you. I'm not going to be the one to hold your hand and help you figure it out so you can become more desperate, so you can get a better mindset. I don't have the time. Why? Because I've got 20 other people that need me to perform at my highest and best so they can feed their families. So that was a long answer. I'm so sorry.
Oh, no, you know what? Don't be sorry. That's the answer that people need to hear. That's the sort of perspective. That's the beauty about what we do here and these conversations. It's providing perspective that otherwise people typically don't have because these aren't the normal conversations. I went 25, 27 years without having conversations like this until I absolutely uprooted myself, put myself in different environments, put myself into different books, put myself into different rooms to be around people who can share this with me, who weren't just going to be yes men, people pleaser, and just keep the status quo. So hopefully y'all heard that. Hopefully you heard what Sam said loud and clear. I'm going to sum it all together in one word. Do the work. You have to do the work. In fact, I was talking to one of my clients earlier today, young guy, David, and shout out to Kirk Anderson, by the way. If you guys are in Arizona and you haven't hung out with Kirk yet, you're missing out. He's one of my favorite people out here. And David and I were talking earlier today. David reaches out to say, yo, Marlon, something amazing happened. Like, what's going on? That business, I wanted to buy? Yeah. Dude, they've agreed to sell to me. The guy's not even 25 years old, and he's getting ready to purchase a business that's producing about $500,000 annually, net profit. $500K net profit per year is what this business is producing. And he's created creative finance terms around the purchase. 100K purchase.
I'm not going to say their last name. Is this David, one of your clients, one of your coaching students? Yep. The one that I know that I just did a deal with in Phoenix.
Dude,
are you serious?
Yeah, bro. And here's the cool thing, because David was like, he was calling me like just to kind of like fill me in, keep me updated, and like to say thank you. And I said to him, I said, bro, thank you. You know why? You're doing the freaking work. Right? Like you're doing, because everyone's gonna ask later on, like, but how'd you get the deal? How'd you find the deal? And the truth is, he continued to apply. What he does in his business, in his real estate business, and in his acquisitions business, is he goes out and he door knocks. And he continued to door knock, regardless of what everybody else was doing, regardless of the new challenges, regardless of do this, do that, hire this VA, hire that. He just realized this is where I'm at. This is what the work I need to do. This is the plan I set for myself. And once he locked into his plan, he put the blinders on and he stopped looking for new plans. This is where most people mess up. I made a thread about this. What up, Ryan? I made a thread about this. I said making a plan is easy. Right? Making a plan is easy. Committing to the plan is easy. But consistently working the plan, that's hard. People can make the plan, they can commit to it, they could promise I'm going to stay on it, but then actually staying on the plan, that's the difficult part. That's the part that's going to differentiate y'all. When you're able to start to differentiate yourself and lock in and stay in, then we're talking about drastic differences. We're talking about exponential growth. So along the lines of that, I want to give people this framework for thinking about when you're gathering information from a podcast like this, when you're listening to Sam drop absolute super hot fire, when you're listening to Alejandro come in and share game, I want y'all to ask yourself these 3 questions, which is, how am I going to use this? I don't want people listening to information just for the sake of hearing it. If anyone's ever studied Jim Quick, the brain guy, he will teach you how to learn faster, how to accelerate your learning, because at the end of the day, learning is simply changing your behavior. If you take all this information in, I was actually thinking about this when I was driving home from the gym today. I was thinking that knowing and not doing produces the exact same result as not knowing. If I know something but I don't do it, I'm producing the exact result as if I didn't know it. Therefore, if you're listening to Sam, if you're listening to Alejandro, if you studied all the courses, if you paid for the masterminds, but you're not doing what you've been taught, effectively, it's a waste of your time, it's a waste of your money, and it's the equivalent of not knowing. So ask yourself, hey, what Sam just said, with everything I just heard Alejandro say, how am I going to use this? That's step 1. Step 2 is going to be asking yourself, why must I use this? And I would write these notes down. Like I would write these questions down and let them replay in your head over and over and over. You're going to ask yourself, why must I use it? Just like Simon Sinek says, start with why. When you understand why you must use the information, this will help get over that procrastination. This is going to help you get over the sitting and thinking about, well, should I make calls? Well, no, you already know how you're going to do it, right? You now need to know, why do I need to do it? To change my family life, to change my trajectory, because I'm broke and I hate being broke, because I got bills and the bills need to be paid, because I want to go and see New Zealand, because I want to take my kids to Disney and not wait on lines for an hour and a half like a peasant. By the way, Sam, Disney, I finally get it with the Flash Pass.
I told you.
Yeah, it is a game changer. I didn't realize I was going to Disney as a poor person this whole time. I didn't know. I didn't know the difference.
Guys, so you guys have context, like what he literally means is this: there's the poor people way to do Disney, and then there's the not poor people way to do Disney. Marlon lovingly, unfortunately, his life only went to amusement parks as a brokey, and then so Hung Mai, who is the most amazing human being on earth, we took Marlon and we showed him how to do an amusement park the right way, which is we don't do peasant shit, which is waiting in line. We just constantly go to the front every time, as many times as we want. And it became a much more enjoyable day, right?
I would actually do Disney again now. Like I never had a desire to do any of that crap. And now I'm like, you know what? I still don't really have a desire to do it, but like with my friends, I will do it because I'm not standing online. Cause I'm like, bro, we can just go stand. Like, if you want to stand online, we can just go stand on. We go to Costco on a Sunday, bro. There's plenty of lines. I'll show you lines. So understand why you must use the information you're learning. So if you're a poor, like if you stood on Disney lines, you now realize, okay, I need to be listening to what Sam is saying, so I don't have to be a peasant anymore. I can make these calls. I can just do the work. And then also ask yourself this: where and when am I going to apply this information? Don't leave it to chance. Don't hope you're going to like accidentally find a scenario for it. When I used to hear Pace, for example, and he would do seller calls, I used to listen to his sales calls, and I would be learning his sales
So
techniques,
good.
and I would his closes. What I would do, I remember me and Will Ayarza, he and I would talk in the morning, and I would say, like, dude, I'm using the F-150 story today. So I established when. Today. Today is the when. Where? On my seller call. So I would be talking, and I'm just looking for my opportunity, because now that I know I'm looking for the window of opportunity, I know it has to happen today. It's like when you decide you're going to ask that girl out, and now you see her in school, you see her in the hallway, and because you've already said, today I'm asking her to prom, today I'm asking her on a date, you're now open to seeing the right time. You're now open to seeing the right opportunity. And you're like, cool, my brother taught me this pickup line last night. I'm going to use it today. Right? Sam's thing, I saw him use this funny joke on this girl one time, and she was giggling, and I'm going to use that joke today. Today is the day. I went to Dr. Hung Mai's pickup school. I'm using it today. Dr. Hung Mai, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, if you are not following Dr. Hung Mai, yo, low-key, guys, we should get Hung on here as
Dude,
a
Hung
guest.
would be so. I literally just thought of that. But you know, anytime, if I'm talking to any female, Hung is not allowed anywhere near the situation. He's too good. He's, you know what? It's okay. He's engaged. He can't. It's all
Yeah,
good.
he can't
You know
do
what? He
anything
can come
anymore.
on. Okay, he's welcome.
So,
Damn.
but these are actually the three things, right? Like this is how when I'm getting information, when I'm taking information in. So when I listen to podcasts, when I'm reading a book, right? Like I got this amazing book right here. When I'm reading books, and as I'm going through and gathering the information, I'm asking, how am I going to use this? I'm asking, why must I use this? I'm looking for that reason. Why is it a non-negotiable for me to let 24 hours pass and not use this information? And I'm asking, where and when will I apply this information? Alejandro.
Don't,
dang,
he's Magetti, guys. Don't do this, because I ordered 16 of them. Don't make me pick up all 16 of them.
Hey, listen. The first, hold on. I don't want to sound stupid on the internet here. This is recorded. The
it's only forever, bro. It's okay.
The third page. As I read this, I closed the book. I'm like, okay, great. That's all I need to do. Check it out,
bro. I haven't even finished the book yet, and I've already just started executing on. By the way, like, if you know,
this is the third page. I know you guys can't see, but it says do more. And just knowing from Alex Hormozy on how he started, where he just randomly came out the blue and just started giving free content, I was like, yeah, man, I need to do that. So as soon as I read this, I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to close it. I went back into my room and started just recording a whole bunch of content that I'm going to release on YouTube. Like, forget the editing, forget the music, just record it, post it, record it, post it, record it, post it. Shout out to Hormozy.
Yo, but like, for real, it's funny that you even say that, Alejandro, because again, this is what it takes to be great. I sent my brother a copy, and I told him, I was like, bro, listen to this book, read this book. And this was my instruction for how to use the book. I said, this is not a book that you read all the way through. I said, this is what you're going to do. You're going to read the book until you get to a very clear instruction. And when you get to a place where you feel like you've been given a very clear instruction, you're going to close the book and you're going to begin doing the instruction. No question. And that was the end. And he was like, but what do you mean? I said, I literally copied and pasted the text I sent to him, and I sent it back. You're going to read the book until you get a clear instruction. That may come to you on page 1, may come to you like on page 3, like it did for Alejandro. It may come on page 22. But whenever you get to the point, and this is where most of you are, I'm not going to curse, most of you are failing. Most of you are messing up, is because you get to the place of getting the instruction and you're like, whoa, that was so cool. What else should I do after that? You don't need to know what to do after that. It doesn't matter. If you can't prove to yourself that you're going to begin doing the work. This is why how many people on Instagram saw last week I made a post saying I have about 7,000 followers and my goal is to talk to every last one of you. I literally like, why did I say that? Because I was reading this book and he talked about, hey, the first form of lead generation for 100 million leads is warm outreach to your audience. I said, dope. He says, if I were you and I'm doing this, I would reach out and DM every single person on my social media platform. Cool. Clear instructions. Close the book. I stopped reading. I don't need to read anymore. And so
I was wondering why. I saw that and I was like, damn, that's extreme. Like, and knowing you, here's the thing, because I know you so well, I know that was thought out, that was intentional, that's gonna happen. You don't just bullshit on your social media. So I was like, when I saw it, I was like, I have no idea what inspired that, but I was like, let me just say a prayer for my man. And just like, you know, let me say a prayer for my bro, because that's going to be a monster. But that's insane. That's where that came from. You're right. That is literally the first strategy that he talks about.
And here's the funny thing, Sam, it's working. It's working for so many reasons. Alex talks about this. He says, let the work on you. And here's what's happening. As I'm having all these conversations with people, first off, like so many things I couldn't have even thought of are happening because I'm just focused on like, oh, I'm going to go and generate leads, right? But here's what's happening. I'm gathering market information because as I'm having these conversations with people, I'm starting to find out, like it's now just becoming subconscious to me what people want because I'm hearing it from so many different places in so many different voices and so many different words. So now I'm becoming an even deeper of an expert in my niche. 2, because I'm messaging people and we're having back and forth conversation, guess what's happening? I'm popping up on their news feed more. So now my content is getting more engagement. People who weren't seeing me on their news feed before because we weren't directly interacting, the algorithm is now showing me to them. So now my audience of 7,000, let's say the algorithm was only showing me to 1,000 of my 7,000 audience. Now I'm being shown closer to like 3,000 of my 7,000 audience. Massive difference. And then also, it's giving me just this deep resume, right? Confidence is increasing because I'm doing the work. It's hard to not be confident when you're doing the work. It's like if I'm a basketball player and I'm going out and I'm working on my fundamentals, right? I'm dribbling every day. I'm taking my free throws. It's hard not to feel like I'm that guy. Like I feel like Kimmy Neutron. It's insane. I love it. And all of this came because as I read the book, I asked, how am I going to use this? Why must I use this? And when and where? This game ain't hard, y'all. Actually, that's a lie. The game is hard. You know what? Okay, so by the way, let's bring it back to the original topic of conversation. By the way, if y'all are getting value from these podcast episodes, let me know right now. Put like a fire emoji in the chat if you're hanging out live with us. We got 30 people signed in live right now. If you're hanging out live, if you're on Sam's, if you're on Alejandro's, if you're on Daryl's, put some fire emoji in the chat. Let me know y'all are hanging out with us because here's what I thought of earlier when I was also asking the question to Sam and Alejandro. Why are people not succeeding? And with the conversations I've been having a lot recently, expectations. False expectations set in their minds.
Oh my God.
And this is something that I feel really bad about because if no one sets the proper expectation, it's easy to gain and gather false expectations based off of what you're seeing on social media. So many times I had people feeling defeated. Their inner world, they feel like an absolute loser. And you got to understand, when you don't have confidence, it's hard to win. If I said, hey, me and Sam are going to go out and go to the mall and try and pick up girls, and Sam walks out looking like how he looks, and I walk out looking like a mess like right now, and I'm feeling down, and I haven't been working out, and I've been eating like crap, and I don't feel good about myself. I'm going to lose. Even if Sam and I are using the same pickup lines. One, Sam is just really handsome. So I was going to lose anyway, but at least before it would have been like a competition, right? Now, like I'm just drastically going to be beat out of the water because every time I approach someone, hey, I mean, can I get your number? Right? Like there's no energy, no confidence, and I'm going to have this defeat with me. So in order for my confidence to be increased, what if someone told me, what if Sam said, like, Marlon, listen, we're going to go play this game together. And I've done this before, but here's what I want you to realize. No matter what you say, no matter how good you look, no matter how awesome you are, when we talk to about 10 girls, 9 of them are going to reject you no matter what. And I have this expectation that no matter how well I do, I'll be rejected by 9, no matter what. Now I can get into the game, and when I face those first 9 rejections, I'm not feeling as defeated. People don't have this expectation in their business for some odd reason. They think because they mentally, intellectually understand it, because they've watched a handful of videos, they've seen other people win, and they've heard the success stories, they forget that Rocky montage that they just watched of someone else winning that lasted 30 seconds actually took 3 years to make. That Rocky montage that went on for a minute actually took a decade. And so I want to remind people to give yourself proper expectations. And if we're talking real estate, for example, I like to say this to people. If you're brand spanking new and you're not working with anyone, you're trying to figure this out on your own, give yourself 6 to 12 months to get your first deal. If you can't afford to do the work consistently for 6 to 12 months, then you're not ready yet to get into this game. And that's okay. Please, I'm passing the mic.
No. Well, I just you're on fire right now. I just want to add to that. I had a similar scenario with this one guy. We worked together, and he's trying to get his first deal, and I think he got like a first contract or something, and it fell through, and he was like all down about it. I'm like, why? He was like, oh yeah, I got the contract, but it looks like it's just not gonna work. I'm like, hey, let me ask you this, man. If I was to tell you that when you first jumped into making calls and I say you're going to lose your first 100 contracts, would you be upset right now? He was like, no, I wouldn't. So how you're feeling right now is because you set false expectations. You think every contract is going to be a deal. It's supposed to be a deal. The first contract, the second contract. What you should do is go back in there, make some phone calls, and expect 100 contracts to fall through. And when you get that second or the third one, and it does fall through again, you're not upset. You're just going to continue going because you were expected to have 100 contracts fall through. And guess what? When you get the 9th and the 10th, now you're making money. You're like, oh, look, check it out. I have a bonus. I was supposed to get 100 contracts to fall through, but I made one on the 9th and the 10th, and then maybe the 15th, and then it just keeps adding on. So, as I go through this business and my self-development journey, I always expect the worst, but hope for the best. It may not be healthy for a lot of people, but for me, this is just what works for me. Because when shit goes south, I'm like, oh, there it is. I knew it was going to happen. And I just keep going.
It's so much better to operate from that standpoint.
It
truly is, because if you can operate from that standpoint and your expectation is this is going to be 10 times harder, 100 times harder, and you're willing to say yes to that. I spoke about this 2 or 3 weeks ago. I asked you the question. I asked all of you the question. Also, Jade, that is hilarious. Got to slide into 10 DMs to get accepted into one. That's the ratio. Unless you look like Sam Singh, in which case it's like the numbers are skewed way better in your favor. It's more like, it's closer to a 1-for-1, just being honest. But
he won't even respond back to those others.
Yeah, like it's
not playing, dog. It's inbound. I get the DMs. They come to me. I'm just kidding. I'm done.
Yeah, like
that's
Sam
the
gets
big episode for today, guys.
Hot leads flow in like immediately. And so I asked this question a few weeks ago. I said, if you found out in order to achieve your goals, you would have to do 100 times the work to achieve the goal. 100x, whatever the work is today that you're doing, 100x the effort. Would you still do the work? Would you still be running after that goal? And while people were thinking about that, I asked the follow-up question for my parents. If you found out it was going to take 100x the effort of raising your child, for your child to be happy, healthy, to grow up to be the sort of adult that you'd want to see them to be, would you put in that work as a parent? And immediately the answer was hell yeah when I asked as a parent. Some people, the answer was hell yes when I asked about the work they do. Some people, they still hesitate. You need to get to the point where the answer is a hell yes for the work you do. You have to get to that point. When you arrive there, you will be the person that creates greatness. You will be the person that does the work. So important. You can't run away from the work.
I saw something in the chat here, Marlon, that I'd like to see what you guys' thoughts on. It was here earlier from Tim. There's another question on here as well, I see. But he says,
Ooh,
I'm at a point where I feel like I need to leave my job to have the time to take consistent action. A few hours here and there inconsistently was just a waste of time, kept losing momentum. What are you guys' thoughts on that?
All right, we could like have a whole master class on this. So Tim, first I'm going to say no matter what answer we give, we need to understand your situation more and more. However, taking it at surface level, the first thing I would say is one, just like Sam has someone on his team right now who has a full W-2, who has wife and kids, and is able with a part-time position to do the work. It's about identifying your highest leverage activities. If you're doing this part-time and maybe you're cold calling and you're like, hey, I got an hour to cold call here, I got an hour to cold call there, I'd be looking at you like, bro, why are you doing that? You have a full-time job. Leverage your work to generate the money. Use the money that you generate from your W-2 to purchase a lead acquisition machine, whether that's cold call or PPC or whatever the case may be, to then allow yourself when you come home from work to work on the higher leverage activity, which is talking and having those follow-up calls with motivated sellers. Now, if you're like, hey, I don't make enough money in my work to be able to do that, then your job in your free time right now is to go and find a team or find someone else who has the time availability to generate those leads so that, again, your highest and best use can be used because you have less time. If you have less time, you have to use leverage. You should always be using leverage, but it's even more important because leverage is simple. It's how do I get more on my output with less input? I need to increase that ratio because you just do not have the time right now. If it was me versus you, I have a lot more time than you. Well, in the beginning when I was getting started, I had a lot more time than you. I was able to sit at my phone and bang it for 8 hours a day. I can get that done. If you've got an hour a day, Tim, I would highly, highly, highly recommend you look at using that hour to just be having closing conversations if that's your skill set. I'm making a major assumption that you're talking direct to agents or direct to sellers, and that's what you're doing with your hours, that you're on the phone talking to those people. But again, Tim, I'm talking surface level because I don't understand all the finite details of your situation. I'm curious, Sam, if you got anything you want to throw on top of that.
I mean, you pretty much hit it perfectly. It's start off with a leverage study, identify what you're doing, and establish the leverage attached to it, like a leverage multiplier, right? For this unit of work, I am getting X units of output, and you need to determine if that's a stable one, if that's a consistent one, if you can maintain that, and if you do maintain that, what is the cash conversion cycle on that leverage activity? If the leverage activity is you cold calling, bro, a 40-hour-a-week VA, it's going to take them months to be able to even translate into a contract. You may be better than an overseas VA, but you're putting in 1/40th of the work they are, right? So that 1/40th is going to have an exponential decrease in your output. Heisman says single father was cold calling. Exactly. So, guys, I'll just put it up here. Tim, single father, and props to you for doing that, man. I was raised by a single parent. It is one of the greatest things I admire anyone who's raising a child on their own. It takes a village, and for you to do it on your own is extremely impressive. I will say that right there is what you just determined. Cold calling, horrible leverage activity for you. It is one of the worst things you can do. It is a recipe for not a lot of success. It'd be a different ball game if you were 22, could live off of ramen, and didn't have another human being you needed to provide for. I say with where you're at right now, you need to identify higher leverage activities. Maybe that's closing, assuming that's your avatar. I don't know what is. Potentially, if you have higher expenses and those expenses are tied to the industry, kill the expenses, man. There's so many teams out there that are so massive and so established. They have some form of role that could be synergistic with your avatar, where it may take you a little bit longer to get a deal, but you're not bleeding money along the way. Because as a single father, you're not allowed to bleed money. You're just not. You have too much on the line. So I would say whatever you're doing right now, I know it's cold calling. I would say cut that shit out because it's not the right thing to do. It's not anywhere near the right thing to do. Us get some tremendous levels of clarity in your avatar. So determine what your avatar is, right? Let's just assume it's closer. You have a great sales background. You used to sell cars. You like talking. You're really smooth on the phone. Great. Now, what is the highest and best leverage for a closer? If you want to do marketing, great. The best type of leads there are inbound PPC leads. Now, I said I don't want you spending money, but guess what? You don't think there's people out there who are spending a shit ton of money on PPC and who don't have enough closers to handle it? Boom, you just locked yourself in utilizing a free skill set, being a closer, and now you're tackling the highest leverage that a closer can tackle in our industry, and that's calling PPC leads for free to you because you can have someone else be footing that bill. That is an example of this type of upgrading of leverage. Whatever your avatar is, you just need to do it with that. I also want to challenge something. I'm going to bring this up. Tim, you had it a little bit ago. Okay, I can't find it. I'm not going to look for it. You basically said it's being hard to build momentum. I want you to even stop thinking about the word momentum because the problem is you're looking for something. You're looking to be affirmed. You're looking to be validated. The reality is momentum is building whether you realize it or not. The problem is you enter this idea. There you go. Thank you so much. You enter this idea. I can't remember if it's 3 feet from gold or 3 inches from gold or something to that effect. The reality is, man, you're just there. You're right there. Gold is right around the corner. The problem is you're looking for signs that it's right around the corner. You can't see it. You're blinded to it. So what I want you to do is stop placing the emphasis on momentum and place the emphasis on simply, am I hitting my mark every single day? And then let go of everything else. Surrender the control, surrender everything else. Am I just putting in my 10 offers today? Am I talking to enough gators today? Am I talking to enough PMLs today? Am I underwriting enough deals sent to me from wholesalers that I could buy on an MTR? Just focus on that process, that number, that is it. Check that box every single day, and that's when you stop thinking about it. Guess what?
So
in a certain amount of time, you will be able to get whatever, the result that you're looking for. The deal will show up, the money will show up, but that way you're not toxifying your mind, because a lot of people, they're looking for this intangible momentum or growth or whatever they're looking for, and it's this weird thing that you can't quantify. And the problem, when you can't quantify it, you can't define it, it becomes hard, and then it becomes emotional. And what happens to emotions? You had a great day, you had a great conversation with a seller, phenomenal day. The next day you get cussed out by 10 sellers in a row. Great, all my momentum's gone. No, it's not. The reality is it's not. Why? Because you still kept talking to sellers, you still kept hitting your mark. But when you place the emphasis on, did I just hit my number? Guess what? It becomes a lot easier to sustain. And then lastly, what I want to do is this, man. I want to push this because this is so freaking accurate. Marlon and I were traveling across the country together, and we consistently meet people. This is something that we didn't hit on enough when we should have earlier. That's a conversation of, why do newer people not win? Why do they not succeed? And the issue is they lack clarity in themselves as a human being, as an avatar, as a business owner. They don't know who they are, and how are you going to solve the problem of your future and without even having clarity in who you are? So what I want you to do, Tim, is 100% right now, or as soon as we're done here, go to clarity.mindsetmarlin.com. Marlon does, and Marlon, I'm not going to speak for you. Can you kind of go ahead and give us like a preview of what that looks like?
Yeah, so I put that up there for you, Tim, because what I'm going to do is, I was going to do this last week. I was just super under the weather. I'm putting together a clarity workshop, because unfortunately, a lot of times people are out of alignment with their goal, or more importantly, they're out of alignment with the activities and the actions needed to make the goal happen. And if you don't have clarity, it's the equivalent of getting dropped off in the middle of the jungle and trying to find your way home. You got no idea where you're at. You need a roadmap. You need to identify where you are and what's going to be the best way to get you where you want to be. I'm going to be doing a clarity workshop. I do not have a date, so please, nobody ask me what's the date, what time, what day, what time. Do not ask that, because my response will be, I don't know yet. I'm hosting a mastermind this week, and I'm hosting my very first mastermind. So that's where my focus is for the next 5 or so days. And after that is done, then I will sit down, I will look at my calendar, and I will find a time. More than likely, it will be happening on a Saturday, where I will be able to spread out. I was going to do it over the course of 2 hours. I'm probably going to extend it longer. And here's what I'm actually going to do. Sam doesn't know this. I'm going to rope Sam in, and I'm going to pull Sam in, and we're going to dive even deeper because I want to make sure that no one walks off of that without understanding exactly what they need to do. And when I say exactly what you need to do, I'm talking what are the exact inputs? What do I need to go and do each day? And how much of that do I need to do each day in order to create the output that is going to move the needle furthest to get me to my first milestone? That everyone should be clear on, because if you're not clear on that, the problem is everything you do will be spinning your wheels in mud. You will have no traction and will go nowhere. So, Tim, go to clarity.mindsetmarlin.com. When you get to that website, you're going to put your name, your phone number, your email. What that's going to do is it's going to take you over to another page, and you will not receive anything from me until next week. Next week, what I will do is I will send a blast text message out. That's why I'm getting your phone number. I will send a blast text message out with a Zoom link. And that Zoom link, you will register, and it will be on your calendar so you cannot miss it. The reason I'm getting your phone number is simple, because people forget stuff. So it's going to go in my CRM, because I'm not going to follow up and hand text to everybody. I won't do that. I'm going to put my CRM on autopilot to remind you, hey, this is happening. The event is going to be on this date at this time. And then it will remind you again the day before, the day of, and a few minutes before that. So I want you to do that, Tim. Also, shout out to you from being from Long Island, because I'm originally from Long Island. So I want to make sure that you are getting taken care of. And this is the Think Big podcast. We are way over time today, but I think this was valuable. I feel like I got value listening to Sam today. I don't know, like, Alejandro, did it feel like Sam dropped some fire tonight? He dropped some sauce?
Oh, bro, he was cooking, bro. You saw me cooking. Oh my God,
Bro,
fire.
100%. Like, that was fire tonight, bro. So I appreciate you. So this is what I want to do. I want to, first off, guys, actually, let's hang out for like 30 more seconds, because before I ask you to pay your dues, our goal with this, and you can see, we're trying our best to give out as much value as we can that we think is the most practical, useful stuff that will allow you to go and implement, not just gain information, right? The information is free. We want to also give you the implementation as well. Like, that to me is how you show that we're effective. It's when you go out and you make a deal happen. It's when you make money. It's when your life gets better because you were showing up to this podcast. And so in order for us to do that at the highest level, here's what I need. We can't do it alone. I tried to do this earlier, but I didn't get a lot of response. I'm being honest. I made a post on Instagram saying, what do you need to learn? What do you guys want to learn about? And I didn't really get much feedback. So I need feedback to understand, what do you think is most valuable? And here's something that we're looking to do. We're looking to bring guests on. So if you're like, hey, I've been wanting to understand credit cards. No one in my family ever understood credit cards. And you're like, I want to learn that. Great. Let me know. I have people in my network that literally have taken people that like are immigrants to this country who feel like they can't even get credit because they don't have a visa, they don't have a green card. And he's like, I just got this person $100,000 worth of business credit so that they can go and start their business. 0% interest for 18 months. Y'all get excited about like 2% sub twos. This is 0% money. So let's talk about the things you need. That's just one example. And the way to do that is to go and DM whoever you have on Instagram. If it's Sam, if it's me, or if it's Alejandro, do me this favor. Reach out and to say, hey, appreciate the podcast. It would be cool if you addressed this problem, or this is a problem I'm experiencing in my business. It'd be cool if you guys knew someone who can take care of this, or I want to share this so that other people don't run into the same problem. That's how I learned. It was other people dropping information that I was like, oh, wow, that's wicked cool. And it helped me avoid some of the pitfalls that I otherwise would have walked into. So go ahead and do that. And now for you to pay your dues, this is what I need. Hit the like button right now that you're watching this on YouTube. So everyone's like, I should be looking at YouTube right now. Everyone should be getting a like. Hit the subscribe button if you're new to the channel. It's really important that you hit that subscribe button, because this is going to help the algorithm figure out what sort of audience this content is for. It will find lookalike audience, people like you. and then leave a comment with 3 things. Answer, how are you going to use what you learned here tonight? Why must you use what you learned here tonight? And when and where will you use what you learned here tonight? Leave that in the comment. How are you going to use what you learned? Why must you use what you learned? And where and when are you going to use what you learned? So, guys, thank you all so much. Sam, Alejandro, do you have any final words for the audience?
I'm gonna do this. I haven't really thought about how I'm gonna do it, but I have an extra book coming in the mail. I know, Sam, you have hundreds, but I have an extra $100 million lead book from Alex Hormozi. It's an extra one. I ordered one first, and then Alex kept on talking. I was like, F it, I'm just gonna order 3 more. So I got 3 for myself. I gave one to my business partner, and then the other one I'm gonna give to somebody else on my team. But I have an extra one coming in, and I'm going to challenge you guys to post on your story, tag me, Marlon, and Sam, Daryl Ellison, for the next 5 days. That's all I ask for the next 5 days, on what your biggest takeaways are from the Think Big podcast. And whoever has the dopest post, I'm just going to give you that. I'm going to give you the book for free. Send me your mailing address. I'll mail it. I'll pay for the mailing, the shipment and everything. And I'll do that for free. Again, for 5 days, post on your story, your biggest takeaway, tag myself, Marlon, Sam, Daryl Ellison, every single day for the next 5 days. Whoever has the dopest post, I will give you the book for free. And how can we put our Instagram stuff on here again?
Boom. It's right there.
Yeah, there we go. That's our Instagram. That's all I ask for. We're trying our best to grow this podcast so we can continue giving back. But we also need you guys' help to share, so we can have more questions, so we can have more people that are going to get value from this, and we can continue growing. So that's all we ask for. And that's Mr. Sam Singh. You got anything else?
Only thing I'm going to say is this, guys. Marlon, me, Alejandro, Daryl, and a few other people. I actually know people who are one of my mentors is going to make over $100 million this year. $100 million this year. Literally will probably finish at about $105 million this year. And he and I had a conversation about it. He himself is actively going through the 100 million leads book, and every single page, reading it, taking notes, jotting ideas down. The biggest and best in our industry are actually studying this thing like a new form of Bible when it comes to lead generation. The fact that, see, he has it. I've got 16 copies downstairs. The fact that Alejandro's going to give that away for free is actually huge. Do the freaking homework. Study what we study. You guys want to level up and make more money? Great. It's all about pattern recognition. One of the greatest things I've ever learned is just pay attention to what people ahead of you are doing, and just start doing a lot of that. When it makes sense for you, you'll start making a lot more. But that's it for me, man. Today's episode was freaking fire. Like, oh my God, today's episode was fun. I need to go back and rewatch it, but I'm good for today, guys.
Amazing.
Awesome. Guys, appreciate y'all. We will look forward to connecting with many of you on Instagram, on social media. And remember to be back here next week, Tuesday, 5 p.m. for the Think Big podcast.